Hello and welcome to episode 190 of The Pitcher or the Hitter, the podcast by the M-SABR Dynasty League for the M-SABR Dynasty League. I am Cam,
Sahil.
and we are back after a bit of a hiatus, longer one than we anticipated. We did record an episode last week that we never got up, but this one, if you're hearing it now, that means we did get this one up. So congrats us. Give us a pat
Yeah,
on the back.
we have now recorded two episodes this year where fully intending to get them up and they didn't come up. The first one was I forgot to send it to Cam before I went to Spain. And then the second one was last week. Cam just got really busy after we recorded. And we even intended to record the week before this one. I didn't feel like recording that Sunday because my college roommate had just left and I was exhausted. And then I ended up being in the office until like 3 in the morning every day the week after. Not every day, but one of the days I was. So did not quite work out, but we are excited to be back. Um, we are here on recording on the day that Rafael Devers has been traded to the Giants. Uh, I will
Yeah,
never
that is
forget.
crazy. We've talked about a couple Rafael Devers trades in this podcast, but never a real life one.
Yeah, I never thought we would talk about a real Rafael Devers trade, but here we are. I can't believe like this isn't quite the Luka deal for me because like we knew that like Devers and the Red Sox had some bad blood and maybe that this was in the realm of possibility that eventually like not a high percentage outcome, but like that like they would, end a relationship. But I didn't think it would be in mid-June, uh, and without any sort of indication that he was being shopped around. And literally right before Sunday Night Baseball, in which the Giants were playing, and literally Kyle Harrison was about to hop on the mound to start the game, and then they scratched him because he was in the trade. I mean, just the whole like, I think this is the second. Um, this is in the top two of biggest like shock baseball trades in my baseball fandom, and the only other one that compares, in my opinion, is the Adrian Gonzalez to the Red Sox trade or to the Dodgers trade from the Red Sox.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. I'm trying to remember what else. It's funny. What's the first trade that you remember? Like how about, yeah, two-part. First trade that you remember, and the first trade where you recall, like, oh, trading away one of their, a team is trading away their best player. Uh, that's surprising. Trades.
Uh, okay, so I became an Oriole fan right after, and I mean like literally right after the Erik Bedard and Miguel Tejada trades in the 2008 offseason. So like I started watching games maybe that like late April, early May of 2008. So I missed those. Funnily enough, the first trade that I really remember well is what I think is the last big Orioles and Reds trade, uh, which was involving a guy
Ryan
who
Friel,
what?
involving Ryan Friel.
Yeah, Ramon Hernandez for Ryan Friel, Brandon Waring, and do you remember the other guy?
Mm, no, I certainly don't.
Uh, Justin Turner.
Ah,
Yeah, that Justin Turner, who was dumped by the Reds and then the Orioles and then the Mets before breaking out with the Dodgers. But that's the first big one I remember in terms of like big like top player like. I guess George Sherrill was the only Oriole All-Star in '08, and then we traded him to the Dodgers the next year. Um,
yeah, I didn't mean an Orioles trade necessarily, but
oh,
yeah,
okay,
just
okay.
like in baseball.
Uh, Come back to me. You say yours, and
All
I can.
right, the first trade of any kind that I really remember was the Red Sox trading Case and Gabbard for Eric Gagne. That was like a formative trade for me. I've mentioned that quite a few times.
This is the first time I've ever heard you mention that.
Okay, well, Greg knows that I was a huge Kaysen Gabbard enjoyer. And I know like people, and I was like mostly a Red Sox fan at that time. Um, I and oh, every Red Sox fan hated Eric Gagne, but I especially did because they traded Kaysen Gabbard to get him, and Kaysen Gabbard was my guy. Um, so that was like an extra sting. Um, there, I also the first like big trade of it, like huge trade. I remember the three-team trade where the Red Sox got Jason Bay.
That
I
was the
remember,
one I was just thinking about was going to be mine. Yeah.
yeah, I remember that very well. And I mean, yeah, Manny was in that trade. I buried the lead a little bit, but yeah, getting Jason Bay felt like a big thing. And then other than that, a trade that I remember really vividly seeing on SportsCenter was when the Astros traded Hunter Pence to the Phillies. That
Ooh,
was
good
kind of like
one.
a surprise. It was like, oh, Hunter Pence is their only good player and they're trading him away. What are they doing? Kind of surprise.
Okay, so that the Manny one was going to be mine, but another like really big one that I can think about is the Roy Halladay deal.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that was a big one.
and then, but what was wild to me about that one, and actually when I'm thinking about most shocking baseball trades, I think that has to be up there. Like maybe not in my top two because I think Devers and the Adrian Gonzalez deals are definitely in the top two. But them trading for Roy Halladay and then immediately shipping Cliff Lee off at the same time to the Mariners because they didn't think he was going to sign. And then I still remember being sick in like December of 20, God, that must have been 2011 maybe or 2010 and waking up and the Phillies had signed Cliff Lee in the middle of the night back after he spent that year with the Mariners in Texas. So I think those would have to be my answers, but the Manny deal is definitely the biggest one, the biggest early one.
Now that was a crazy time for the Phillies. But yes, we have a lot of more recent baseball to talk about.
Oh, can I say one more thing because you mentioned Casey and Gabbert, and I promise we could switch back
Yes.
to the league. But the I had an early exposure to Casey and Gabbert, but it wasn't Casey and Gabbert himself. When Darren O'Day got claimed off waivers by the Rangers, I think from the Mets, they did not have an O'Day jersey ready. So he wore a Casey Gabbert jersey on the mound.
That's great.
Yeah, so that was one of the first things when the Orioles claimed Darren Day that I learned about him. So um, yeah, just fun story. But yeah, let's get back to the present day here. But before we get back to the present day itself, I do want to go back to last week. So the episode that we never posted, we talked about Andrew tying Alex, and then both of them
Breaking
realized,
his losing streak.
yeah, breaking his losing streak, and then we did not realize, Alex and Andrew did not until yesterday that actually Andrew had lost to Alex because of a stat change, which I looked up today, and while I'm not 100% sure this is the actual case, but it seems like Marcus Semien lost an RBI for Andrew um, at some point last week, and that stat change dropped RBIs to a tie, which meant that Andrew lost 5-6-1, or dropped it from a tie, or maybe to a tie. I forget. In any event, he lost.
That's crazy. I mean, that's like to have that happen so many days later is just it just feels rude.
It does, and I mean, this is Andrew was 3-0-1 at one point. He is now 3-8 and or excuse me, 3-9-1 now after losing to me this week. Um, who the hell saw that coming?
No, after starting out 3-0, it's just a
Yeah.
very shocking and you're just like, oh, after losing to me this week, very casually. But
Well, and then like the first 3 weeks, like it wasn't just like he happened to get lucky. Like he was dominating. He was atop the roto after the first 3 weeks. by like a pretty nice margin. And he was coming off an 8-1 win over EBO, and then he tied Erik the next week. Like it wasn't like he just like completely shat the bed or like was playing, like a bunch of shitty teams. He did play Daniel and Conor to open up the season, but like still, he had some quality wins in there and then just collapsed.
Yeah, I don't know what it was either. And maybe one of these weeks we'll do like a deep dive, but yeah, he is I still feel like he has it in him to turn around, but he yeah, has really dug himself a hole after a great start.
Yeah, it's a damn shame. Um, but yeah, I wanted to make sure we talked about that. Do we technically, because we did not put up last week's episode, want to talk about the trade that uh, had happened, the Aranda deal, or do we want to just?
Nah, maybe I'll edit that in, but what we said about it last week, but I think our it's not that interesting. What we said, I liked Aranda before the season as a breakout guy, and that's come to pass, but also I like the deal from both ends.
Yeah, I kind of yeah, I called it the hitter version of the Ben Brown trade, and I think that pretty much just sums it up.
Yeah, no, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, if you have any questions as to what that is, just go back and listen to our Ben Brown segment, and that'll cover it. And then just replace Ben Brown with Jonathan Aranda.
And replace any pitching numbers with hitting numbers.
Sure. Yeah, let's go with that. But all right, why don't we dive into these matchups here? Because we're going to be here all night otherwise. Is there a matchup you want to start with first?
Mm,
None of these
how
were like overly like close. It was a weirdly anticlimactic week. Like there were close-ish matchups, but none that I really thought were going to lean one way or another.
we're talking about Andrew's team. Why don't we dive into his matchup against you? That was in theory one that we thought would be interesting after a couple weeks of the season. We can kind of dive into what went on here.
Yeah, it was so. I'll give Andrew credit. He was very much in it going into today. If he had, actually, I don't really know if there's anything else. Maybe he would have streamed a starter today that would have brought whip down a bit, but I don't know how much more he could have done. I don't think I played particularly well this week. Um, it just offensively was like fine, but nothing super special. Pitching like at a 3.84 ERA, which was fine, but the 141 whip um was kind of frustrating. I don't really think anybody stood out. Max Fried really bailed me out pitching wise. I think he had two really good starts this week, but um if anything, this week kind of scared me a bit because I think it's exposed me a little to realize that I have three really good starters right now. It's Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, and Robbie Ray. And Rodon and Ray did not pitch great this week. They didn't blow up, but they weren't great. Um, and if those three starters are not on their game, I'm gonna have weeks that look like this pitching, like with the rate stats and relatively few quality starts. And maybe I don't need an ace per se, but I definitely need somebody I can look at and be like, yeah, you're my SP4. That's my takeaway from this week. I'm just glad that I survived Andrew, who, I again, we just talked about him. I don't know how the hell he's playing as poorly as he is. Makes no sense to me.
If I didn't need him so badly, I'd say that you needed Mitch Keller.
I still can't get around Mitch Keller. Maybe he's on something different this year. That would change my mind, but I just can't get there with him.
We'll see. Yeah, you and Andrew kind of hit equally well. I would say you just hit well enough to win an extra category in the hitting stats. I would say your matchup MVP has got to be Tatis, even though he didn't homer, he scored 9 runs, stole 3 bases, hit 3 doubles as well. With
I
a
might
shout out
uh
to
I might
Westberg.
disagree with you there and take the two quality starts from Max Fried.
Okay, I
Because
would.
That gave me the definitely I needed those quality starts. Those were two of my four, and then saved me in whip and from a worse CRA.
I'd buy that if you want to kind of overrule
Yeah,
me.
I don't think any hitter hit well enough this week to deserve it. I have a hard time giving it to a guy who didn't hit a home run this week.
Fair enough. All right, matchup MVP goes to Max Fried. I like the week to tease had a lot though. And same with Westberg. Um,
He is finally healthy. Everybody who's written him off, he was not healthy after literally the third game of the season. Just he's healthy now. He's gonna be great.
yeah, no, he looked good. Rough pitching week for Andrew, losing both the rate stats, only getting one quality start. I think, yeah, the pitching uh, has been just a problem for him this season, especially on his losing streak. Um, like Drew Rasmussen not pitching well. Yuri Perez made a bad start or two not so great starts. Chris Bassett didn't pitch well. He doesn't really have an ace in this rotation that's like standing out. Nick Lodolo got blown up. So there's just not much to like from how he pitched this week. Jameson Tyone has surprisingly been his one kind of bright spot.
Yeah, it's a pitching stuff like so he got Yuri Perez back this week. He had two not so great starts, but he's coming off a TJ, so I'm not really holding it against him. But uh it is a rotation that has a lot of talented young arms, but they have not put it together, whether it's because of injury or whatever else. And like I see the vision here, but yeah, that definitely sank him this week. Um
Hmm.
uh Definitely a winnable matchup for him if the pitching was a little better. But what do you see from Andrew from here? It sounds like he's willing to sell a little bit.
It's tough. I mean, he now um he will be I'm just looking at the matchups around the league. He's tied with Connor. He's half a game ahead of the Drury. He's behind Anthony, and Alex is only gonna be a game behind him now, and I don't know. I He's kind of having not too dissimilar to the year I had in 2019, where like a lot was working on paper, but I just couldn't get the wins. Andrew didn't use any acquisitions this week. I know he, I think he was pretty busy. I know he wasn't making flag or uni picks, so maybe he was just kind of busy this week and not making ads in here either. Um, it's tough. I mean, I could see a team wanting to trade for Tyone. I could see a team wanting to trade for Bassett. I could be a team that wants to trade for Bassett. Um, I
I
think,
know Yuki badly wants Rasmussen.
yeah. I think there's definitely some potential to retool here. I think he could do it well and be in back in the playoffs next year, but it's just not looking good this year, barring a big run. And I think unless he pulls off the upset against you, I think it might be time to start shopping guys.
Well, he lost to me, so there's no upset to pull.
Oh, this was oh. Yeah, I thought for some reason he was playing you again next week. I don't know
No, no,
what.
no. So he here is the flip side of what I will say though, or to play a little devil's advocate. He has already played Eric twice. He has already played me twice. Um, and he has already played EBO once. And he has already played you once. Um, and he has already played Ruthvik once. So he's gotten over the majority of his matchups against the top teams. He does have to play Eric one more time, and he does have to play you one more time. Or not Eric one more time, sorry. He has to play you and Ruthvik and EBO one more time. But the 2 weeks before that, and the 5 weeks to end the season. The 5 weeks to end the season, he's not playing a single current playoff team. And then the 2 weeks after this here, he plays Yuki next week, who I think is definitely beatable, and then he plays Anthony. So um, if he can go like 6-1 or 7-0 against those teams and get a win or two against that really tough 3 week stretch there, say he's 8-2 at that point. Uh, that means he would be sitting at 11-9-1, which you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think
That
that was,
should be a playoff team at 11
yeah,
9 and 1.
I think that was roughly a playoff team last year. So I'm not counting him out just yet, but like the margin of error is thin. Like if he loses like to Yuki and Anthony in the next 2 weeks and then has to stare down a tough 3 week stretch, like I think he's just cooked.
I think so.
Yeah, but like he has lost any semblance of a safety net.
No, definitely 3 8 and 1 is just not where you want to be.
Three
Um,
nine and one now.
three, no, this will put him at 3 8
Oh,
and
yeah,
1.
3-3-1. Sorry, yeah, I can't. Math is hard. Um,
It is. Have you counted up before we get to that part of the show? Have you counted up our pick 'em yet?
mm, no, but you didn't put up the episode last week, so I didn't know if we were gonna add up everything up. I should have added up what we had before, but yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there when we get there.
We'll get there when we get there. All right. Speaking of getting places when we get to them, let's move on. What matchup do you want to talk about next?
Why don't we talk about your matchup because this one got really close there for a hot second. On Saturday. In fact, you entered today tied, I believe. And
Ye-
then you pulled away against Anthony. Uh, your boy Zach Wheeler really helped you out there, as well as some good offensive performances. But um, you just had a really solid week across the board. I mean, if I had to nitpick, like a 4.23 ERA and a 1.27 WHIP isn't really the best, but like it came with 6 quality starts and 67 strikeouts. That was great. You dominated all the offensive categories, and I mean, it just like solid week for you overall. You were off air very down about your team, and I don't know why you are.
I don't know. It's tough when you're leading 11-1 every Friday and ending up in all these close matchups. It drains on a guy.
Breaking news: Shohei Ohtani is starting tomorrow.
Whoa. Like, is this like starting pitching or is this
Starting
just like
pitching.
a are we sure? Because this could be like Sully trying to pull you. He's like, oh, starting at DH.
They wouldn't
He
come out.
hasn't posted a tweet and he's just
Shohei Ohtani will open for the Dodgers on Monday, so maybe that's not a full start, but yeah, this from Twitter.
okay. So it's not a trick like
No,
you're
no,
wont to
but
do.
right. And then if you're thinking about it, right, they can't really send him down on a rehab assignment. So this is like the
That's
next,
fair. Yeah, that's fair.
right? You have him pitch an inning against or 2 innings against who are they going against tomorrow? I don't know. But um geez. It is crazy that Shohei Ohtani coming back from Tommy John is like the second biggest news story of the day.
That's crazy. Yeah. Big, big day in baseball. But yes, my matchup here. Um, I don't know. It's tough. Yeah, going in with a huge lead every Thursday, and um, yeah, I was up 11-1, and I was able to pull it off in the end, and that's a better than I was doing at the start of the season. But oh God, we're running out of time on this recording. We gotta fly through
Yeah.
these. Yeah, it's yeah, Anthony made a good comeback. He pitched pretty well this week. Um, but I was able to pull it off in the end. You mentioned Zach Wheeler, but I streamed a really strong start from Emerson Hancock that helped make this more comfortable and make my ERA and WHIP look a lot better. I love the way I hit this week. Would have liked a few more home runs, but I'm I mean I'm scoring a lot of runs. I'm driving in a lot of runs. I would bet you anything that I finish this season with more stolen bases than I've ever had before by quite a bit because I am stealing a lot of bases this season, which I've never really done. So that's a thing I'm excited about. Um, Otherwise, it's I don't know. The fact that I'm struggling with these matchups, whereas Eric would have, or you would have just like 11, finished at 11-1 is just kind of it's just like there are tiers of teams in this league that I'm not able to break through into.
Yeah, I will say I definitely have had periods where like I've been playing a bunch of like games that I'm like were a few years back were like dominant wins and you know this year they are dominant wins, they're close. This year it's kind of flipped back, but I mean I think people just go through periods like that at times. I think you're selling yourself short, but we talked about this off air. I'm not really going to get into that. This was a must, not a must win for you, but I think you really needed to get some momentum going here with Anthony kind of nipping at your heels, having coming off a couple straight wins, and Jake still being hanging around and being relevant. So, um, great win for you.
Yeah, great win for me. Looking at the offense, really strong week from Wilson Contreras. I liked what I saw from Nimmo. Nimmo hit 3 homers. Aaron Judge homered 3 times as well, but that came with a 217 OBP. Um, I got 9 RBI from Alec Bohm and a couple of homers there with a 462 OBP. He played really well. Pitching wise, Cease made an incredible start. He's uh, definitely needed that because he hasn't gotten a quality start since the 20th of May. And this was against the Dodgers too.
Is that long?
Yeah, it's been like a lot of 5 innings, 3 earned from him lately. So not the best, but he made a good start this week. 2 quality starts for Zach Wheeler with 16 Ks. That's kind of what won it for me here. Um,
Your matchup
let's
MVP, perhaps?
see. Yeah, I think I will give it to Wheeler. How about that? It was between him and Nimmo, but I'll give it to Wheeler.
Good for him.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
good for him. As for Anthony, he drops to 3-7-2. Could have gotten some momentum going here. He almost pulled it off, and this would have been, I want to say it would have been 3 in a row for him. It would have been 3 in a row and 4 out of 5. Um, he's got something working here, and if he had won this matchup, I would have called him a favorite to make the playoffs, but I can't go that far right now. But otherwise, I think this team is a little bit better than his record.
I think so too. If I'm Anthony, what I would really do is find a way to trade a hitter or a pitcher for a hitter, or just acquire any sort of hitting. Because this is a great pitching staff that just cannot hit. And if he had put a little more pressure on you offensively this week, maybe it would have been a different outcome.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Let's move on. So there's 4 other ones to get into. Why don't we talk about Jake versus Yuki? That one kind of had the most playoff implications. Jake getting a good bounce back win and staying in the race here.
Uh, yeah. Big week. Uh, for Jake. The offense, which we've been complaining about a lot, has started to pick it back up again. I'm not surprised with Acuna back and starting to look pretty good. That's certainly helped. And Jake's just very dependent on Acuna, in my opinion, a little too dependent, just the way his offense is built. But now that he's back and hitting, hopefully that can really help him there. We've seen it the past couple weeks, and the pitching has been awesome all year. And he had another great week, 7 quality starts, 7 saves. He just jumped out to a really big lead over Yuki the whole week, and I never really thought that Yuki had a chance to get back into it, despite the score being what it is, just only an 8-4 margin of victory for Jake. So I think a nice job for him as he, you know, tries to stay in the playoff hunt here with the likes of you and Yuki here. Huge for the tiebreakers.
No, absolutely. Yuki scored 62 runs this week, but didn't do a whole lot else on offense, to be honest. And the 17 doubles are nice, but not a whole lot else. And then the pitching really let him down. Jake drove in 55 runs and had a 390 OBP. Um, yeah, 38997 to be precise. But and yeah, he pitched phenomenally too. Just looking down his list of guys, he got two quality starts from Matt Boyd, but only three strikeouts. That is bizarre. Meanwhile, Jose Soriano made only one start, Spencer Strider only made one start, and they got 12 and 13 strikeouts respectively. But Matt Boyd made two really good starts where he struck out a combined three batters. Um, and Jake somehow managed 81 strikeouts. That is wild.
She
Um, um, but yeah, a lot of good pitching performances there. Luis Castillo pitched well. On the hitting side, yeah, it's got to be Acuña's matchup MVP with the three homers, 8 runs, 6 RBI, and a stolen base. Um, Corey Seager drew 10 walks this week, which is kind of insane also. And Manny Machado drove in 10 runs, but otherwise didn't do a whole lot to fill up the stat sheet.
um yeah, the Rangers have no other real offensive threats other than Seager and Blankford, so that doesn't surprise me on that front. But yeah, just great week for Jake. I think this is really I was not ready to call him out of it, but I thought he was going to be in some serious trouble, and he's really worked his way into this playoff hunt. So kudos to him. I think this little grouping here with like you and Yuki and Anthony and Jake is going to be really interesting. And honestly, EBO, who this might be a good transition into, might be kind of playing themselves down into that mix after losing this week to Erik.
Yeah, they sure might be, and it's always tough to play Eric, but yeah, EBO will fall to 6-3-3. They're a little bit ahead of this pack, but definitely not too far off that Yuki can't catch them. I didn't really think they played very well this week, and Eric played fine. Eric had a decent, maybe slightly above average week. Um, but EBO just kind of was kind of blah, and they lost 9-3.
Yeah. Um, Not a great week. Yeah, for EBO. Um, just. I mean, Eric, the 18 homers is nice, but you're right. I wouldn't say this was really a standout offensive week for him. And it was more of a quantity pitching week for him than a quality one, in my opinion. But um, this is definitely has a huge implication for the standing. So EBO was a game and a half back of um, first place and a half a game below Eric for the three seed. And now they're two and a half back of first place. They're a game and a half back of Eric. They don't have the tiebreaker over Eric currently. They do have the tiebreaker over me. I'm not sure if they have the tiebreaker over Ruthvik. I've not checked that. But actually, I'm not even sure they've played Ruthvik yet this year. Uh, they have not. But yeah, now I think the question becomes more of, hey, if they lose another game here, are they going to start to sink back down into that 4, 5, 6, or that, kind of back of the, I guess, yeah, 4, 5, 6 seed race with the teams that we had mentioned earlier. I know they play Alex next week, but they have another matchup with me coming up and a matchup against Ruthvik. So those are going to be incredibly important to determining their seeding here. So um, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. And they've got the tiebreaker over me. Um, but It's tough, tough to imagine them dropping like below five, really, or below me. It's hard to picture, but there's a lot of season left, and they've been playing worse than a lot of the teams that are in that mix with them.
Yeah, they have another matchup against Eric too, so it's not the easiest schedule the rest of the way.
hmm Yeah, no, we'll see. As for Eric, he got a really strong start from Chris Sale, Spencer Schwellenbach as well. Pitched a complete game. Grant Holmes struck out 15 on Sunday against the
How about
Rockies.
that? Can I just say he struck out 15, but the Braves lost 10 to 1.
Yeah, that is a weird line. And I mean, he only gave up two of those earned runs, but yeah, just a weird line. 15 Ks in only six and a third innings. You don't see that very often.
No, well, it is a Rockies, and they weren't playing in course, so Rocky Road, as Nick Pollock always says. Uh,
hmm
just brutal.
Very brutal. Hitting wise, this matchup MVP has got to be Ellie. He's homered 4 days in a row. Scored 8 runs this week, drove in seven, and had a 500 on base this week. Only one stolen base, but just a phenomenal week for Ellie. As the Reds, for the first time since 2023, have won a series that they lost the first game.
Yeah, and Yuki just posted a fun red stat in the chat. The Reds are the
Hmm.
only team in baseball to not be swept this year.
Really?
Yeah,
That's surprising.
yeah. I would not have guessed that the Reds were the only team to not have been swept either.
Yeah,
But
I
here we are.
wouldn't have guessed that they hadn't been swept. I could have sworn that like the Brewers are one of those. But cool.
I'll quickly add just on Eric as we talked about EBO in the playoffs. This now really sets Eric up nicely. He's a game back of both me and Ruthvik. He has a tiebreaker currently over me. We still play one more game, the second to last week of the season. I don't know if he has the uh, he tied Ruthvik the first time he played him, so they play each other again at some point. But I fully expect the Eric, despite the fact that Ruthvik is currently ahead of him in the standings, I would put my money on Eric getting a bye over him. I think Eric's going to jump him at a point, and this was a really big matchup to get him to that point where he's going to be able to jump Ruthvik.
Yeah, no, I agree. Ruthvik, I mean, no, Eric has won seven in a row now. Granted, he's only won more than seven categories in one of those matchups, so they've all been pretty tight. Um, and then the one win was an 11-1 win over Conor. But he's played a lot of tight matchups. He's been on the winning end of them. His schedule gets a lot easier going forward, though. So the dream of 18-2 and 2 is still alive.
God, it's gonna be so annoying if he actually pulls it off.
Man, I guess we'll see. The evidence suggests he may never lose again.
You're not wrong. But here's hoping he doesn't go 18-2 and 2. That'd be really fucking annoying. All right, who's next? I don't know how many more of these we have.
We got two more. We mentioned Ruthvik. Let's mention him again here. He didn't play very well, but he got a win against a bad team uh, to keep hold on that two seed.
I would actually argue he basically played the way that he's played all year, and it's a pretty good pitching week. I know he lost ERA and WHIP, but that was more of a product of like a good ERA and WHIP or a great ERA and WHIP by Conor as opposed to anything that Ruthvik did wrong. And then on the hitting side, he wasn't good hitting. He had one good uh, hitting category, and that's steals. That's the one he's always good at, and that was it. So I think this is a typical Ruthvik week, and he's playing Connor, so he was able to pull it out.
Yeah, no, and Connor scored 26 runs. He only homered four times, did not get a save. I mean, the pitching rates were good because he's got some, he didn't cycle through guys and he got good start from Merrill Kelly and Brian Wu did not pitch well, but David Festa did, and Andrew Abbott pitched a shutout, and that's kind of what got him. Really, that Andrew Abbott shutout was what got him those two pitching rate stats. Um, and it's, he only used 5 starts this week. Willie Castro was really the only guy who hit any amount this week for him. And Ruthvik did enough to not be that. Like he got 6 quality starts. I guess you could say that Jeremy Pena had a pretty good week. I guess you could say that Julio had a decent week. And I guess Jesus Luzardo is probably matchup MVP because he struck out 10 guys instead of 9. Yeah, it's weird. Ruthvik has yet to play me, and I'm very curious to see how the matchups against me will go because I imagine he'll win most of the pitching categories against me, but I've just gotta if I can just win holds, um then I'll have then I'll take it just based on winning the hitting categories.
Yeah, this is one. I think Ruthvik will be the first one to tell you that there's definitely some work he has to do to kind of get where he needs to be. But yeah, it's a playoff team for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
If only because he's so far ahead of the cut line.
Yeah, and the schedule though gets redonkulous the rest of the way. He's really taken advantage of some light matchups. Now, granted, he did have an early season tie against Erik, which really helps, and an early season tie against Jake. But I mean, he's about to enter a really tough stretch here, and I don't think he has to do great. I think he just needs to be like 500 the rest of the way, and he'll be fine. He can maybe even go below 500. This reminds me of the one year that Anthony started out really hot and then faded down the stretch, but he still made the playoffs because he started off like 8-0 or something just ridiculous like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison. I mean, he did that last year, but I think you're referring to 2021 specifically.
Yeah. Look at the schedule now. So he just played Conor, right? So that's an easy matchup done. His next God, even just the rest of the season, it's you, and then it's Jake, then it's EBO, and it's Andrew, then it's you again, then it's Erik, then it's EBO, then it's Yuki, then it's Daniel and Matt, and then it's me. So like Daniel and Matt should be a relatively easy matchup for them, and Andrew I still think is not the easiest team to play despite his record. Um, I
There's a world in which Ruthvik goes on a losing streak, Andrew goes on a winning streak, because they've got kind of opposite schedules, and their matchup against each other is like a big inflection point in the season.
I agree. Yeah, like and I don't think Ruthvik's getting a bye. Like and when I said that, like yeah, let alone like cruising to a playoff spot per se. I still think he's a favorite for one, but um I mean there are a lot of teams that are still in this. We still have 10 weeks left in a season. That's an eternity.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, Alex and Zach could win on, they've already won 2 in a row. They could finish on a 12-game winning streak.
exactly.
And speaking of them, they pulled off what when I predicted them to win in the lost episode, and I predicted they would get their first win of the season. Little did I know that they would not only win this, but they would pick up another win in between the recording and now.
Yeah, I still can't believe that. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how that happened. But good for them. Yeah, they
Yeah,
pulled
I
it
have
up.
never seen a set flip that late, especially not one that flipped a matchup.
Now, I'm curious if that's just when they noticed it or if that's actually when it flipped. Like, I don't know.
No, because I checked on Friday to look at,
There's
or bless you.
a series. I
I looked on
flew.
Friday to add it to the spreadsheet and it was a 6-6 tie. So it happened like later than like 4 p.m. Friday. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, yeah, just nuts. But side note, did you hear me when we started this new recording say, "Wait, I gotta sneeze," and then you started talking over me?
No, I didn't hear
Okay.
that. It
Okay.
must have been.
You did, but then the sneeze didn't come, so the sneeze just came out.
Ah, well, congrats.
Oh, I'm a loud sneezer, so I apologize. But Alex, yeah, he won 6-4-2. I mean, just pretty standard win, nothing super special, but got the job done over a Drury team that I had a little bit of heat there for a hot minute, and like actually, like I mean, I remember them playing me pretty decently back at the beginning of May, and then I chatted this to you, but didn't. We hadn't really recorded since then, so the stat never came out. But um, there was a stretch there where they played me, then you, then EBO, in which of the 36 categories between those 3 weeks, they were two, um, uh, 32 and 2. Uh,
That's bad.
and then the week after that, they won three categories against Ruthvik, and the three categories they won against Ruthvik was more categories than they won in those last 3 weeks prior. Um, now, what's really bad for them, as bad as those losses are, what's really devastating for them is that they played Connor and Alex the last 2 weeks and lost both of those. Those are matchups that they needed to win to really be in this playoff hunt. They're about to drop down to 3-9 now. If they had won both of those matchups, they're sitting at 5-7 instead.
That's, yeah, they would be in this playoff hunt. And now I mean, they're not, and they hit 3 home runs this week and drove in 25 runs. So they're clearly not a playoff team. I think it was naive to think that they could have been under any circumstances, I but those were at the very least their best chances to, not lose out the rest of the season.
Exactly. And I think these are just missed opportunities for them.
It's it's tough. Yeah, and they're better than they were last year. They've won 3 games, including against some good teams, but yeah, maybe we were getting a little bit ahead of ourselves when we saw them pull off their third win.
Yeah, I don't blame us for getting excited, but yeah, definitely kind of a bummer how this has worked out for them.
But as for Alex and Zach, they got another win in their pocket. They will be 2-9-1, just half a game behind the aforementioned Drury. Not an amazing week from them, but they scored 42 runs. They drove in 40. They hit a good amount of doubles. Pitching rates were fine. Um, Emilio Pagan got a save and a hold. Shane Baz pitched really well. Yeah, they did enough to win again, and they tied the week before. Um, Trying to find a matchup MVP and struggling to find one. I think I'll give it to Boz because he had a really nice quality start and a really okay paddock, and he got 11 strikeouts, and that helped the team a lot.
Yeah, nope, there you go. I think that's a very fair. He's kind of had an up and down season, but I still think he's going to be a pretty solid player when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe not as good as we thought he would be at one point, but I sure agree.
Yep. Absolutely. Anything else, or do you want to do matchups to watch?
No, let's get into it. Next week is week 13, lucky 13. I was just Friday the 13th on Friday, the 13th of June. Um, Matchup to watch has gotta be me versus Ruthvik, right?
Uh, yeah, I think it has to. I don't. None of these other matchups really stand out. Um, I think Yuki versus Andrew is going to be interesting. Because I think despite their records, I do think that they're a little closer. In terms of their quality of their teams than the records indicate. So I think that one's going to be interesting as well. But um, yeah, I think you versus Ruthvik is clearly like you. This is one where you need to win this to really like prove that you can like you know play with the big boys. And I get that maybe we don't consider Ruthvik quite the big boy, but you gotta win these games against the teams ahead of you in the standings. It's really important.
And I agree. And on the other hand, Ruthvik, if he wants to kind of act like he can compete for a bye still, this is a matchup that he wants to win.
Right, especially against a team who is, to put it nicely, I think your team's been inconsistent.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And the hitting's been there the whole time, but there's the circumstances surrounding my team have been inconsistent.
Yeah, I think you summed that up pretty accurately. Um,
All right. Yeah, shall we pick them?
let's pick them. So obviously you didn't hear us pick them last week, but I do have our pick 'em, so I might as well just say who Cam and I picked. I picked me to win against Andrew, as did you. We both picked Ruthvik to beat Connor. We both picked Alex to beat Daniel and Matt. We both picked Yuki to beat Jake, which we were wrong about. We both picked Eric to beat EBO. And I picked Anthony to beat you, and you picked yourself to beat Anthony. You were right. So you won 5-1 on the week. I won 4-2. Um, given that we have not, I have not added up anything else, because I am bad. Uh, do you want to pick first again, or do you want me to pick
I'll
first?
pick first. I think that's fine. I think that Eric will beat Anthony. I think EBO will beat Alex and Zach. I think you will beat Connor. I think Jake will beat the Drury. I could see it being a bit of a letdown week from Jake, but I think Jake will beat the Drury. I think I will beat Ruthvik. Um, I have a little more confidence in my team than his at the moment, and I think I can win enough of the hitting categories to put this one out of reach for him. And I will pick the upset here, sort of. I think Andrew will get back in the win column. This is the week.
God damn it. You just made all the picks I was gonna make, so I'm not gonna try and get cute with it like I did last week picking Anthony for the hell of it. Although it would be pretty funny to pick against you again in back-to-back weeks, but I'm scared that might have just motivated your team last week because you came out roaring to start the week.
Hey,
Uh,
I think you'd at this point probably want to see Ruthvik lose.
I'll be brutally honest, and maybe this is gonna come back to bite me, but I think Ruthvik's just that schedule is so rough to end the year that I don't think it makes a difference. Like and I have the tiebreaker over him. And not only do I have the tiebreaker over him, I wanted 10-2. I'm a little annoyed at myself that I dicked around and Charlie Morton myself into not winning 11-1. But in order for him to get the tiebreaker over me at this point, he's going to have to be win 11-1 or 12-0 the next time we play. Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess in theory, he and I are still tied for first place, even though I own the tiebreaker. So yeah, I probably want him to lose. I don't consider you as really a threat to me in the standings at this point, not because of the quality of your team, but just based on how far back you are from me.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I've been kind of trading wins and losses lately.
Yeah. So I just you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna make the same picks, but I'm gonna pick Ruthvik to beat you, and I think his team is gonna rise to the test because they've been actually doing pretty decent all year.
All right, there you have it.
Uh
Okay.
yeah.
So that's what you've decided. You are picking Ruthvik after all?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna keep picking against you until you give me a reason to pick for you. I don't know.
That's how I was at the start of the season.
Yeah. Huh.
Well, and I sort of gave myself a reason, like in a tenuous sort of way, to stop picking against me. But I guess I haven't given you enough of one.
Yeah. Uh, it's funny because I was the one who was expressing all this confidence for your team. And you're the one who's been shitting on your team. So I don't even know
And
anymore.
yet you're the one picking against me.
Yeah, it's more fun that way.
All right. But yeah, any last words about this week? I went to a Yard Goats game today. I saw my boy Angel Ganao hit a home run and get two other base hits and a walk as well. So love to see that.
No, that's super fun. Always love a good minor league baseball game. Who'd they play?
They played the Akron Rubber Ducks, who are the uh, Cleveland affiliate.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, they were.
That's right.
Yeah,
Obviously,
that's why the
because Ganow's in Cleveland. Yeah.
yeah, and I was hoping to see
Hartford a
Bazana.
Rockies affiliate?
Yeah, Hartford's the Rockies affiliate. So I saw Benny Montgomery, who was having not a good season.
Why is none of these Rockies guys are? Why is a
Yeah.
Rockies affiliate all the way out in Hartford?
Well, good question. I guess there's nowhere out west that would have him either. Cole
I don't get it.
Carrig
There's
was
literally
their leadoff hitter.
there's what?
Cole Carrig batted leadoff for the
Oh.
Yard Goats.
Here's what I don't get. They literally have a team in Colorado Springs. You can't think that they would like try and
Well,
find.
they're a triple A team, but yeah,
Oh, that's right. The Argos are a double A team, right?
yeah, they
No,
are.
got it.
Um, yeah, so that's
It doesn't
that's
matter as much then. You're not shuffling as many players from Hartford to Colorado directly.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. I think even a triple A team though, like there's a team in Colorado Springs, and I don't think the Rockies are the Colorado Springs affiliate.
No, they're the Isotopes. The Rockies are.
Okay, so that's actually not that bad.
It's not that bad, but a lot farther than Colorado Springs.
Weren't they a Dodgers affiliate for a while? Dodgers or Isotopes kind of got dicked.
Maybe. I feel like the Isotopes have been with the Rockies for a while, but I'm not sure.
Since
Oh no,
2015.
the Rockies have been with Oklahoma, or the Dodgers have been Oklahoma City for a while.
Since 2015, I think, because they were the Isotopes were a Dodgers affiliate from '09 to 2014, and before that
Okay,
they were a Marlins affiliate.
that's fun. Yeah, it was a fun game though. The crowd was packed, a lot of people there. I saw a guy with a uh, little teeny tiny pizza tattoo on his face. Um, so that was interesting. Um, I saw a child in a Brett Beatty Mets jersey, um,
Hmm.
and they and the it was a high energy environment, or like there was this awful goat scream noise. You never made it up to a Yard Goats game, did you?
No, I've driven outside the stadium with you, but I've never actually been to a game.
Gotcha, gotcha. When were we in Hartford together?
Or no, not Hartford. What's the one right outside Manchester?
Oh, the Fisher
Fisher
Cats.
Cats, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we've driven by that. Yeah, no. Hartford. Yeah, there was this awful loud goat scream that they played several times, um, which I guess for goat reasons. They didn't play Brass Bonanza, which they did at the last game I went to, and they also they played during like the hype up in like the eighth inning or something. Played this, I think some sort of original Yard Goats song. It was like, "Oh, we them Yard Goats."
What the f-
Like they have their own hype song, I guess. "Oh, we them Yard Goats."
That's so I
It
God,
was it was a pretty terrible song.
that would annoy the shit out of me.
Yeah, they only played that one once, but the screaming goat was a lot more frequent.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, and oh, we them done with this podcast. See you next time.
Yep, see you next time.
We them y'all go. They know who we are. They know. We shine on the diamond, New England's new rising star. We are. Point at my target and knock it straight out the park. are gold. They know who we are. We shine on the diamond, New England's new rising star. Point at my target and knock it straight out the park. 22 games.
This podcast is good.